So let's start with a very simple function. It takes name and age and it just prints it. Positional and keyword is the property of arguments which are passed. For example, Ram and 12 as name and age are passed in the positional style here because by virtue of position, name is associated with Ram and age is associated with 12. And the same name and age are passed as keyword argument in this example. And once you pass with keyword arguments, you can swap them. The formal text would refer this name and age as formal parameters, and it would talk of these as arguments. These are keyword arguments and these are positional arguments. So positional and keyword is the property of the argument. So let's run it. It is quite simple. Via positional we passed, via keyword we passed. We can always mix things. We can pass something as positional and something as keyword. That's possible. And if you give the same thing twice, then of course it gives an error because here we are giving the name in two ways. One by virtue of the positional, one by virtue of the keyword. So it will throw an error. Any extra argument will bother because this marks was never declared as a parameter. If I pass, it will be an error. If I have to accept any additional parameters which I have not declared, then I can always use star star kwargs. There are positional only or keyword only or both. The syntax about it is something like this. You can have func and some argument 1, argument 2, dot, 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 till n. And then you can give a slash as one argument. And then you can have key or pause 1. And then you can give a star. And then you have keyword key1. So basically, the slash and star, when used as a parameter of its own, they are only markers. So the slash marks that anything coming before slash has to be positional only. It cannot be given in a keyword argument style. And star means that anything coming after that has to be given in keyword argument style only. It cannot be given in positional way. And anything coming in the middle is flexible. You can give via both. And it's not necessary that you use slash and star both. Like this function only uses slash. So what it is telling is that name and age can only come as positional arguments. And this function is only using star. It is saying that name and age can only come as keyword arguments. And you can, of course, use both. So let's see some examples. So let's say we have given a function like this. So name and age are positional only. We run it in the success case. That works. But if I give this keyword argument, it throws an error. Func got some positional only argument passed as keyword arguments. Because name and age are coming after star, they are keyword only. If I give it via keyword way, it works fine. If I give it in positional style, throws an error. Func takes 0 positional arguments, but 2 were given because there is no positional argument to it. One thing about keyword argument is also that let's say you are not doing star, but you are saying star args. Star args captures all the positional arguments which are not captured in explicitly named parameters. If you use star args, then name and age become keyword only. So let me just run it. Let me call it. Then it works because these are captured by the args and name and age are given in keyword style. That works fine. But if you omit it, let's say you omit this name and age, can it really relate this name and age? So now it will throw an error. And it says func missing two required keyword only arguments, name and age. Star arg does the job of star also. Anything coming after star arg has to be keyword only. And let me show one function which uses both slash and star. So arg1 has to be positional only, arg3 has to be keyword only, arg2 can be either. This example should work because it is following the rule. And this example, arg1 is positional only, arg3 is keyword, that's fine. Arg2 could be either. So that is also fine. This is compliant. When you use keyword arguments, you can always switch the order. That's fine. arg1 is positional only, so here we have invited trouble, and of course that will be an error. Let's see. So func got some positional only arguments passed as keyword, and R2 can be given by positional, but then it has to be in position, right? The positional argument cannot come after a keyword argument because then the positional one-to-one mapping gets broken. So that's not allowed. And here we have passed 30 as positional, that's not allowed. Let's recap a little bit about star args. Star args basically captures all the positional arguments which are not otherwise captured. So let's start with a simple function. Just let me just call it. And then args is a tuple which captured all of this. And if you have mixed kind of thing, let's say you have pos1, pos2, star args, and now let me call it. So now you can see that 10 was consumed by pos1, 20 was consumed by pos2, and the remaining things were captured by args. Star args means that capture all the positional arguments which are not consumed by explicitly named parameters. Similarly, star kwargs also does the same thing. Any keyword arguments which are mapping to these named parameters, those are not put in the kwargs dictionary. My sum star args, it is just iterating through the tuple and doing the sum. Let's say I want to create my func, and it can take any number of arguments, and it needs to call this my sum. Maybe it is doing something like sum is equal to, and now it needs to call my sum. So the way to do is you put a star. Star arg here means that I have a tuple, I want to unpack it into individual items, and those will be passed. So let me run it. You can see this is a very clean thing. So basically star args means that I have a tuple in my hand, pass it as positional argument. If you have a tuple like this, 1, 2, 3, and you wanted to unpack that tuple, my sum is called with 1, 2, 3. So I should get 6. That's what I get. Okay. So let's look at kwargs. Kwargs captures all the keyword arguments which are not captured otherwise. So let's run simple example. If I give some argument, it will be captured in a dictionary. Let's say we have some named parameter also. Let me have A. Let me call it. This time the only question is, will this A enter this dictionary or will it not enter? So the answer is it will not, because keyword arguments, kwargs, captures those keyword arguments which are not consumed by explicitly named parameters. If it is consumed by A, this doesn't enter the dictionary. So we have a func which calls func1, and func1 is like this. When you have to pass those parameters as it is to another function, you need to do star star kwarg. Can do dictionary unpacking with normal dictionaries also. We have a simple function name args country, and you have a dictionary where the parameter name and some values are stored. You can pass them like this. So that's fine. If you have to design a function which can take any argument, so this is the signature of that function. Any number of positional arguments and any number of keyword arguments. And sometimes over this function, you want to create a wrapper. So this func is the main worker, and this wrapper function just does some pre-processing, some post-processing, but in the middle it invokes the func.